I found this letter addressed to my mom by R.R. Stories. Dear Rachel, I hope you're doing well and the time has been kind to you. I have an hour or less before my death, so I thought I would write to you one last time. My love for you has always been the same as the first time I ever laid eyes on you. It makes me sad knowing that I will never see you again. Reminiscing about all the memories of us together has been the only light that shined bright in my world of darkness. It got me through one of my most horrific journeys of my life, and it shall get me through my inevitable death. I thank you for that. You might have a lot of questions. I assure you there is nothing you or anyone could have done to help me. After these last few years of solitude that have felt like eons without you, I've grown to see how cowardly it was of me to leave you without saying a word. If you've learnt to forget me, I suggest you burn this letter without reading another word. It all started when I first heard the voice of a man named Alexander Milkov, who I've learned to call a friend after all these years. Since birth, I'd always heard spurts of white noises maybe once or twice a day for a few minutes, but ever since Alexander, it had stopped. He only conversed with me whenever he wanted to talk, which I thought was selfish at the beginning, but I guess he was only there to help me. 1,460. Those were his first words to me. At first, I didn't quite understand it and asked him several questions only to be reciprocated with silence. But as time passed and he counted down to 365, he started to talk more. A lot more. He went from counting down once a day to counting down more than once, sometimes even about 10 times a day. I thought it was random at first, but I started to notice a pattern. He only counted down more than once a day whenever I went more than a couple hours without food or whenever I felt afraid of something. One day, as I was walking down the street, an old man, wrinkled and weak in every part of his body, stopped me. "Run before it gets everyone around you," he said, with a look of distress on his wrinkled, withered face. I'm sure you remember that night that I got so drunk I couldn't function properly for a few days. I didn't think much of it since there were a lot of crazy drugged up people on the subway from work. Or at least that's what I told myself every time his words gnawed at me. But ever since Alexander counted to 730, things took a turn for the worse. I would trip over a stone, and while a normal person would end up with a minor bruise, I'd end up with a broken bone. A small cut could lead to hours of bleeding. When I went to the doctor, they always had the same reply: "You're as healthy as you can be, son." But that was not the worst. Do you remember the time we had to put down Bruno because of the bite marks he was getting every day, and we didn't know how he was getting bit even though we never let him outside? It had nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. I killed Bruno. I should have run away long before I did, but I was selfish. I could have saved him. I'll never forgive myself for that, and I'll carry that burden of my death, along with many others. After Bruno's death and all the strange things that were happening to me, I realized the old man might have been right. So after you had a bite on your neck that one morning, I decided I couldn't afford to live a normal life if I truly loved you, and that's the night that I left. I hope you understand that I left to protect you, even though it might have seemed like I left you because we were growing apart since Bruno passed. Since Alexander counted to 99, I started to see bite marks on my body, similar to the bites on Bruno. Sometimes the bites are so bad that I pass out from the pain. I'm used to it now. At this moment, every part of my body is covered in bite marks. But I've also started to hear voices other than Alexander's. Emily is the worst of them all. When I hear her, she usually makes me take a knife and run it along my face, basically sculpting my face with my own hands. Danny is the kindest of them all. He usually tells me how sorry he is about the things he's going to make me do to myself, like bang my head against the wall, or try to pull out my hair or peel the nails off of my fingers. I hope after all these years you have found someone to love. Someone who cares about you with all their heart and treats you like a queen. If there is an afterlife, I would like to meet you there, and I hope we could live a happy life with Bruno behind a white picket fence like we always dreamed of. Yours truly.